guys. Today we're doing an oil change on a Mercedes. This is an S63 model. I'm forgetting the year, unfortunately. I didn't write it down, but this is a pretty high-end Mercedes. He's been here before in the past to do brakes. Ended up he had a special front rotor design, which is what we call a two-piece rotor. They were super duper expensive. And he actually opted only to do just pads, which definitely is not recommended. You might notice he has drilled rotors. They're also slotted. And, you can almost see the lip on the rotor right there. European rotors wear out quickly. They have high carbon content, which makes them soft. So they generally wear down fast, and you generally replace them in tandem with the brake pads. So considering that they were $1,000 a piece rotor and the pads were like $500, $600 or something silly, he opted to just do a pad slap, which of course had no warranty. We don't recommend it, but he said he's going to get rid of the car. Yet here he is 6 months or a year later, still has it. So whatever. So he's here for an oil change now. And we've got our little 8mm on our 1/4-inch gun here. I'm going to take this belly pan off to get access to the drain plug on the oil pan. And yeah, this is a very expensive car. It's very nice. I will say definitely a luxury automobile, but I'm not sure that he was expecting such maintenance costs to upkeep this thing. Anyways, got the belly pan off. We're going to get this drain plug loose. I think that I guessed at a 14 first, but it ended up being a 13mm. So I'll go back in just a sec. I can feel how loose it is. It's not right. Get my oil drain ready as well. Catch pan for this this oil. I think this car had 9 quarts was the capacity of 540 full synthetic European oil. And so having such a large quantity of oil, it can tend to squirt out once you get that drain plug off at a fairly good velocity. And so you got to kind of predict where it's going to go. But I raised the drain pan good and high to get ready to catch all that nasty old oil. Yeah, see, it comes gushing out pretty good. So we're going to let that drain. And I had already popped the hood, and I didn't immediately see the oil filter in the engine bay. So I figured usually if I don't find it off the bat, I'll take a look underneath. They're either up top or underneath, most commonly. Sometimes they can be hidden away on the side, but that's pretty rare. So yeah, I'm going to go do a little look around, see if I can figure out where his oil filter is. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking a lot of these European cars, we are European specialists, and I may not know every location of every filter on every European car always, but I'm capable of figuring out or looking it up, and I'm thinking that it's probably a cartridge filter, which I don't have the filter in stock, so I'm actually waiting for it to arrive. So that'll be a little delay that I had to wait for on this job. But at the time being, I still have the oil available, so I'm going to figure I'll go grab that real quick. There's our oil that we're using, Castrol 540.
You're going to want to order more 540.
Get that set up on the cart.
Want to order a couple jugs.
Probably going to reposition this drain pan because the flow slows and it starts to move. It looks like I made a little mess anyways, which is usually the case. Looks like we're almost done there. If I'm not in a rush, I don't mind letting it drain for a little bit. Trying to get some of that residual oil out of there. Guys over at Jiffy Lube, they do what we call a dump and pump, and basically they got a guy up top and a guy down below, and as soon as that oil's pretty much done draining, they have a guy start filling it up, And my father, my boss, he used to joke around about how they would work so hard and fast trying to crank these oil changes out. Not
Hey,
that
can you
he's
punch
worked
the
at a
spin
Jiffy
into all
Lube, but
data?
he's heard that they would start pouring the oil in before the guy underneath had to even put the plug in. And the trick was to put the plug in before the oil reaches the bottom of the oil pan and starts draining out. So that's what we would call a dump and pump. So anyways, I didn't let this drain for super duper long time, but I let it drain good
Thank
enough.
you.
And we tighten up that drain plug. It does have that copper washer on there. Now you're supposed to replace those every time. I usually make a judgment calls if if it's not in bad shape, um, then I don't have any major gripes reusing it. It's not a huge deal. In my honest opinion, I think you can reuse them multiple times and not have a problem, but that is what we call a crush washer. The copper is such a soft metal that it crushes on the drain plug to form a nice seal. Well, personally, in my 15 years of experience working on just a major buttload of European cars, you can definitely use them multiple times. And my filter that I haven't even received yet didn't come with one anyways, so there you go. I just went to look up the oil filter location real quick in AllData because I just didn't happen to see it under there. And I figured out that it's up top. So once you've drained the oil and put the plug back in securely, you're pretty much done down here. All you got to do is pop that belly pan back up on there. We'll cinch that down. Something that I've learned over time working on a lot of different cars, it's a bad idea to just put a bolt or a screw in. Let's say you're doing a valve cover or any kind of cover or anything really that has multiple bolts, even a caliper with 2 bolts. You don't want to put one bolt in and tighten it down, because then the odds that the other hole will be lined up perfectly are really slim, and you'll probably have to loosen that bolt again so you can wiggle the caliper and fit the other bolt in. Well, I always adapt that, kind of a sequence to everything I do. If it has a bunch of bolts, I'll put them all in finger tight, or screw them in at least a couple of threads before I ever tighten a single bolt. And I think that's just good etiquette. Put them all in, start them a few threads, and then you cinch them all down with the gun with that confidence. I think that this is just the kind of stuff that seasoned techs know already. You guys may already know that, but I just wanted to mention it. Little tiny tips here and there, Sometimes I put, let's say, 13 out of 14 bolts into something, tighten them all down, and when I go to put in the last bolt, the hole doesn't line up, and I got to loosen all of them again. So, anyways, it's just a good practice, Start all the bolts, whatever you're doing, And if you're doing a valve cover, screw all the bolts in, start them all, at least a couple of threads, and then go ahead and tighten them down. Don't do one at a time and tighten them one at a time. That's a bad idea. So anyways, yeah, this is a big boy, a V8 bi-turbo. This thing has plenty of power. Super sexy car, to be honest. Nice interior. And yeah, this is definitely a sweet ride. The sound system was on point. Luckily, the gentleman keeps it nice and clean. It smells good, so this thing's kind of a panty dropper. So we've got that little engine cover. We're going to pop that off, and it gave us access to our filter. Now it turns out there's this kind of air scoop tube that's somewhat in the way, and I'm kind of checking to see if I can just pop the whole thing off or not, and apparently not. I'm not even going to look too deeply into what it would be involved. I think that just popping it off of that intake, the air filter assembly there, would free up enough space if I just push it to the side to be able to get my tool on. We got to find the right size tool as well. And I will say, this socket right here is one I ended up using. Was a tad loose. There was a slight bit of play, but I know from experience you can tell, even with a little tiny bit of play, it still is going to be a good enough bite to unscrew it, and it was. These should not be particularly tight at all. They're sealed with an O-ring, these cartridge filter caps, and they do not go very tight. We're talking very low Newton meters. It's been a long time since I looked one up. I always do them by hand, but the torque specs are probably like 8 Newton meters or something incredibly small. You could almost, to be honest, screw this thing in by hand and it would probably be okay. It wouldn't leak. So that's just to give you an example of how loose, well, not loose, but how gentle these get screwed in. Plus, this is actually a plastic cap, as you can see. So we're going to pop this old O-ring off. I'm not going to be able to put the new one in until I get the filter delivered. But since the filter's up top here, there's no reason that I can't put the oil in while I'm waiting for the filter to arrive. So we're going to go ahead and prep these bottles. These are 5-quart jugs. We're going to get our oil fill funnel. And I do believe when I popped this cap off, it actually made a little mess there, so we're going to clean that up, get that out of the way. And I did have to fiddle around a little bit to find the proper adapter with this Mac oil filter set. That ended up being the proper one. Now I will say it's not a perfect fit. You kind of have to center it by eye in the hole, and if you keep on screwing it, it'll screw loose. So it's kind of sketchy using this funnel setup to fill this car, but anyways, here's me just digging around trying to figure out what goes into this adapter. I will admit I have recently purchased this funnel set, so I'm not some master with it yet, and I kind of have to figure out how this works. And I'm assuming one of these clear portions has to screw into that red adapter, but none of them seem to want to. So I have to fiddle around for a little while trying to figure this out. And I'm like, well, I see there's threads inside, so whatever screws in there has to be threaded. And there's only so many clear adapters here that are actually threaded, so it's got to be one of them. And yeah, this took me, actually, I was almost embarrassed. I knew I was videoing. I'm like, what the heck? How come I can't figure out which adapter goes in there? Like, nope, that ain't it. Sorry if you hear footsteps, that's my pops above me. So, looking to see if I had an adapter fall out of that tub or just what's going on, because all the threaded adapters that I've tried didn't work. And then magically, at any moment here, one of these is actually going to work. And my head going to be saying, what the F, because I already tried them all, even right now, and none of them worked, but I guess I just didn't try well enough. I decided to actually take it off and figure this out in front of my face. I'm actually kind of flabbergasted that this isn't working. And see, and then I happen to grab, I think that's the Toyota one. See me go, what the heck? It worked. I don't know what to say. I just had to mess around for a while there. So anyways, it can work on this car, and I was able to figure it out, but so you gotta screw it until you get a bit of tension, and then see it pop loose. So screw it until you have tension, stop, and then you kind of manually push it around and make sure that it's good to go. I felt good enough, I felt secure enough at this point to go ahead and start dumping the oil. It's worth taking a sec, because I'm figuring out this funnel set, and the last thing I want to do is spill a bunch of oil all over this nice Mercedes. Boy, that would be a big pain in the butt. It definitely rings a bell with me of memory. We had a tech in the past who was poured a bunch of oil in a funnel, and it was draining real slow, and he was talking to me, and I guess that he got distracted and lifted the funnel up before it had drained, and he was just pouring oil all over the whole engine of the car, and it was jaw dropping for me. I said, "Hey, dude, what the hell? You're spilling oil all over the car." He's like, "Oh my god." He was super duper embarrassed. He was a seasoned tech too, but he had a drinking problem, which is why we ended up letting him go. He showed me once he had a bath towel on his front seat, and he was about to drive home, and he for some reason decided to call me over, and I'm the boss's son. I'm the manager, and he lifted the towel and showed me about 4 or 5 cold beers sitting in the towel for his drive home. I couldn't believe he showed me that. I was just thinking about what a stupid moron he is. For one thing, drinking and driving. And for another thing, what kind of schmuck would show their manager the beers in their front seat that they're about to drink on the drive home? During the drive home. Anyways, he wasn't the worst tech ever, but yeah, he would be late and miss days, and I had to cue the owner in about what was going on. I still can't believe to this day that he was stupid enough to show me that. Anyways, yeah, he spilled oil all over the whole top of the car, jibber jabbering to me, and I still have picture memory of him doing that, just watching that oil pour out of that funnel. He was very embarrassed, which rightfully he should be. I mean, focus on what you're doing. I know we're chatting and whatnot, but come on, man. Don't lift the funnel until it's drained. Anyways, just wanted to share a little bit. Of course, working in a shop for 15 years, full time, on all makes and models. I have definitely accrued some stories about some different employees, and that one was always a funny one for me. He was just chatting away to me, pouring oil all over this whole engine, and it was a big cleanup. So yeah, I've made mistakes, plenty of them. Most techs have. I think any tech that says they haven't made a mistake is completely full of crap. That's actually a pretty solid way to learn, to be honest. Trial and error, and nobody does everything right. Especially, you see, I've worked on all makes and models from the very beginning of my career, and we've always specialized in European cars, which definitely are a bit more complicated than domestic, and let's say like Toyota, Honda, like Asian cars. They're just a big pain in the butt. And some of the first jobs I ever ended up doing, just to chat, because I'm trying to get my scanner here for my coworker. You have to reset the oil reminder with the scanner on this vehicle. So, but yeah, one of the first jobs I ever did was a European brake job, and I remember how frustrated I was. And it's so funny after 15 years. One thing I can just crank right out like nothing. A European brake job, no problem whatsoever. Practice makes perfect. There's no replacement for experience. My radio stopped working there. And yeah, I mean, guys, don't beat yourself up too hard if you make a mistake. You need to learn from them, and you grow, and you get better and better. And look at the LED lights in the interior of this car. Absolutely snazzy. Now, I drive a Mercedes too, but it is nothing like this one. This is a whole different level. All those little bells and whistles. I kind of envy it. I just got a 2015 C300 a few years ago. Little compact entry-level Mercedes. But still the nicest car I've ever owned. But yeah, I've worked on cars that make my Mercedes look like a joke. And this is one of them. This thing's sweet. Plus, as you probably notice on the screen there, it's an AMG. Mine is not. And, yeah, I've had pipe dreams of having a nicer level Mercedes like this one. So anyways, what I'm doing in here is I'm turning the key into the power or accessory on position. And I'm going to plug in this dongle here into the OBD2 port. Now the car happens to still be in neutral, or I just put it in neutral, I can't remember. And so I pull it back away from the lift so that I can have enough access to open the door and reach under there. Pop this dongle in. It was kind of hard for me to show you. I'm wearing a chest harness with this GoPro, but there's a little trap door that you flip open and then you can plug into the OBD2 port.
All right.
So we're going to make our way over to our scanner now that we're in the accessory on position and we have our dongle installed in the OBD2. So now interestingly, it's still on the last car, so I have to click the change car button. And generally this scanner, which is a I think Zeus says it right there, pretty up-to-date scanner, it auto identifies cars. Absolutely wonderful feature. Now I want to scroll right on down to the bottom. I found generally on European cars on the bottom is where I'll find it just will say service reset or service reminder reset. It's not there, so I'm taking a good look and wondering, where is it? Am I missing it or what? It's almost always at the bottom. Now you'll see on here another thing that does say service reset, but that's kind of a baloney selection up at the top. That's for a service you have to pay for with the scanner. I don't know if you can see it or not, actually. I guess not, plus my angle's a little bit off, sorry. But basically what I'm thinking right now is, okay, if I can't find something that says service reminder reset or service interval reset, then I'm going to go make my way into the instrument panel, and unfortunately, apparently, my GoPro did not actually capture the screen here, which sucks. Sorry about that. Anyways, yeah, so I'm kind of looking around just like, where is the service reminder reset at this point? I think I actually went back down through the list again thinking I must have missed it. It really is most times all the way at the bottom of the list, and it'll say something to the effect of service reminder. So what I end up doing is choosing the instrument panel. I know that from experience because what we're trying to do is kind of oh, there you go, instrument panel, reset service, confirm overall service, boom. And so see that we're in the instrument panel module, and we're going to exit out now. And yeah, so that was real simple. I just had to figure out where in the scanner was that reset option. Once we've got it reset, we can pull out our dongle, shut the little flap door under the dash, and put our scanner back. I always put it back because we like to keep it plugged in, so it's always fully charged for whoever ends up using it next. I'm going to go ahead and pour myself another shot here. It's Sunday and I'm just relaxing watching me work. Anyways, so the customer did request that I set his tire pressure. And to be honest with you, I thought to myself, it's kind of unnecessary. These cars have TPMS systems, and it would let him know if his tire pressure was low. Now, I didn't happen to notice a TPMS indicator being on when I pulled it in. However, I don't think I really looked. And sure enough, his tires are totally low. So I don't really have an explanation for that. In my experience, TPMS indicators will pop on with something around 4 to 5 psi difference from whatever the manufacturer has specified on the sticker in the door well, on the driver's door well, right next to the other stickers. So anyways, I think this was 49 and 51, and I always say that in my head, 49 is the front, 51 is the rear. So yeah, 49 and 51, and my little air hose issue there. But yeah, so we're gonna get these caps off. I think he was missing actually the front right cap on his TPMS sensor. Not a big deal, but I'm not gonna replace that for free. I don't stock chrome caps, and I don't have them to give out. And you know, the owner of this car, I'm sure, could afford one if he ever wanted one. Anyways, but so we're gonna fill this up. You see how low it was? Surprising, in the 40s. And so it's actually, I'm glad that he mentioned it. He definitely needed his tires topped off. Now, just to mention, for any of you who would scrutinize that we don't just do this all the time, well, I tell you what, we're not Jiffy Lube. We're an independent automotive shop. We're a mom and pop shop. And I see 41, and it should be, what, 49? Yeah, so it was way low. Not crazy, but definitely low. Believe it or not, I don't always set the tire pressure. And, I don't want to sound lazy, because I absolutely could. But I actually gotten chewed out by people for doing things they didn't ask me to do in the past. And I know these big commercial retailers like, Sears or Costco or wherever you go, that they just do it as part of their service. Maybe even Jiffy Lube will do that. They might even top off your windshield washer fluid as a part of the service. But I don't. I do exactly what customers ask me to do. But I will tell you that I will inform my service advisor and my lovely secretary up there, you may have noticed, that if there's anything that I recommend or see or think it needs, that way she can inform them and then they can decide. Oftentimes I'll fill, in the past, I would set tire pressures on every vehicle. It's like a rule that I had made. It would turn out that their indicator was on because they have a bad sensor in there.
345.
They've never decided to fix it, and so I wasted my time. As a small independent with only a couple of techs, my time is valuable. Wasted effort is wasted effort, and to be honest, I've actually just kind of ended up this way. I follow whatever the rules are wherever I work, and at this place, it's just the way that it is. We're not a big crew, I don't have some guy on hand, on call, waiting to shine your tires. I would have to get down and do that myself. I've got plenty of responsibilities already, so unless they request something, I don't do it. But like I said, if I notice anything that I think should be handled, of course I'm going to inform the customer. So anyways, I set the tire pressure and put the oil change sticker. Now, I just got my filter, so this will be the last piece of the puzzle here. It's actually amazing to me that we're at 28 minutes and 22 seconds now, just for a simple oil change. But then again, I did dilly-dally with the tire pressure and had to look up a couple of things. This is part of why European cars cost more. There's more to deal with. See, on a Honda, I can reset everything on the dash. Piece of cake. So we just popped on our new oil filter cap O-ring. We're going to secure our new cartridge filter into the cap. We're going to screw this on in. Now, this does not go very tight. This does not go too tight, you guys. Okay. The O-ring is what seals it against the oil cooler housing, or the oil filter housing. And so I'm going to basically, I'm moving fast, but I don't have a hard grip. See, as soon as it stops, I know it's done. I give it a little kiss with the ratchet. Not much at all. Very gentle. Pretty much a thumb push. And then it's tight enough. And we're going to go ahead and pop this cover on. These covers are just kind of a bunch of baloney, in case you guys don't know. They're really just like ornamental covers, frankly. They're not even necessary, but they're part of the car, and there they are. So we always make sure we put them back. We're done. We slam that hood down. Get our gloves off, because I can tell you, after years, this is why gloves are important. We've had techs who don't wear gloves. I always think that's stupid. Wear gloves, okay? Then you can strip them off and you're ready to get right into the vehicle. The last thing you want to deal with is an upset customer because you put nasty oil spots and fingerprints all over the inside of their car. In my opinion, gloves are a necessity. We've had some West Virginian boys who don't wear gloves because they don't like that they lose some feel, on their fingertips. Well, whatever. I mean, you get used to wearing gloves, man. And we're working on nice cars. This is Loudoun County, Virginia. I think we're the richest county in the nation. Okay? People have high-end vehicles with nice cars. Nice cars that they need them clean. You can't leave nasty spots. So anyways, that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Take care. Bye-bye.